This is the Red Podcast.
This is episode number 43, and we are going to talk about quick and easy content creation strategies. You've got limited time, but you need content. Content has a half-life that is getting shorter and shorter. If you don't keep cranking this stuff out, nobody's going to see your stuff. Laurel and I have 8 strategies you can use to get content easily, get it quickly. That's coming up on this episode of the Red Podcast.
This is the Red Podcast. Real entrepreneur development. Make more money, work less, and live a life of freedom. No BS advice that really works. Here's your hosts, David Hooper and Laurel Staples.
So I just went out in the yard, and there were pieces of paper all throughout our yard and also up and down the street.
What kind of paper?
Lottery tickets.
Lottery tickets.
Somebody had gone down, and I guess it was like a lottery explosion. So I've got 3 tickets here that I just picked up right in front of our yard for the Cash 3 lottery. But this is a bigger lottery than that. It's a $9.35 million jackpot.
Wow. Are you a winner?
I don't know. I hope so.
You got to check on it.
Well, I had to check it because I would always wonder, what if I didn't pick those up? Plus, it would make a great story if I do win. So, yeah, I just went outside, took the dog out, found this lottery ticket in my yard.
Yeah, so if we stop podcasting next week, it's because we won $9.3 million.
Oh, I'd still do it.
You be on your own, my friend.
I would have a solid gold microphone, just like Rush Limbaugh.
I could take my microphone to the beach, and we'll just do it that way. That would be totally fine.
This is Red Podcast. Red stands for Real Entrepreneur Development.
Red is for people who want to spread a message. Business owners, coaches, speakers, bloggers, podcasters, anyone who wants to get their message out there and make money while doing it.
Musicians, artists, if you've got the cure for something, we'll help you get the word out about it. So there's a problem, Laurel.
There is.
A problem.
There's a problem.
People like us have every day. And that is, we've got limited time, and we are required, if we're going to do this right, to create content.
When you're spreading your message and trying to get the word out about what you do and who you are, you have to create content to do it. And there's only so much time you have during the day to do this content.
It's like being a college professor. They used to say publish or perish.
Exactly. And that's what we're facing in today's world is content is just moving so quickly. And if you only post on your blog once a month or put out something randomly, you're not going to be able to keep up with everybody else who is on a regular schedule, who is putting out interesting, engaging content regularly. So you want to be able to keep up even if you don't have a ton of time to spend on it.
So this episode is about quick and easy content creation strategies. We have 8 ways that we're going to go through right now that will show you how to do that quickly and easily. And the first one, Laurel, we see this all the time in podcasting now, interviews, so much so that people are approaching us about being interviewed on Red Podcast, and we don't do interviews here.
I think some people haven't listened to it when they ask for interviews.
They're just approaching everybody. But
exactly.
Interviewing people is absolutely a way to get quick content, and it's a way to get good content depending on who you're interviewing. And the interview doesn't necessarily have to be an audio interview. If you're not a podcaster, it could be a written interview.
I've done written interviews for my blog, Go Fire Yourself, and that's been really effective. I'll reach out to people that I think have interesting stories or something interesting to say. I create a Google form in which I write questions for them, and then they can fill it out and submit it to me. And that's just been a great way to create content easily where I don't have to spend a lot of time on the content, but it still gives a lot of value to my readers.
It's good for search engines. A lot of people think that it's old school, but some very, very traditional magazines, Playboy comes to mind, Rolling Stone, those guys have great luck with printed interviews, proving that there are people that like written interviews. So don't be afraid of doing that if you're looking for quick content for your blog. It's a great way to do it. How would you do that, Laurel? Would you go to like an email form, or would you do it through email and just have somebody respond to you? How do you do written interviews when you do them?
For the written interviews, I would find somebody that I wanted to interview. So I wouldn't just say anyone who wants to be on my blog. I would specifically go out, find people with interesting stories, ask if they'd want to be on my blog, send them a link to a Google form for them to fill out, and then let them know when it's up.
So you just go to Google Documents then?
Yeah, go to Google Documents and create that form. And that seems to work pretty well. You could do it just as easily through sending them the questions via email, but I like to do it through Google Docs.
We did an entire episode about how to be a good interviewer, and that is at redpodcast.com/11, specifically for audio interviews. However, it would work for also written interviews. You could do video interviews if you wanted to. The editing isn't as easy, but you can do them.
That's the thing. Yeah, so I think interviews are good whether you do written or audio. The written just take a little bit less time because you just have to copy and paste answers. And when you do audio or video, it's going to take more time. True, you don't have to create the content yourself, is that you don't have to spend all this time writing it out or scripting out your own podcast episode where you're just speaking. But at the same time, it takes a little bit more time.
Number 2, this is what I call the expert roundup. And the way I do it is I ask a single question and then combine those answers into a post. My very first book had one of these. So you can actually not do it just as a blog post. You could actually put it as content for your book.
These I've also done on my blog, Go Fire Yourself, and I like them. It gets you kind of excited because it gets you talking to other people. And what I do is reach out to people on Haro, Help a Reporter Out. I think it's just helpareporterout.com. Put up a query there that goes out to tens of thousands of people, I believe, that says, here's my question. If you could answer it in a couple sentences, what would that be? And I get usually about 50 to 60 responses and go through them and create this expert roundup post. So one of the ones that I did on my blog, for example, was for people who have quit their day job and are working for themselves full time, what is your number one piece of advice for quitting your day job? So 50 to 60 people responded with their number one piece of advice for quitting their day job. I took about 25 of those that I thought were really good and powerful, just a couple sentences, and put them all together in one post with the person's picture and a link back to their website.
That's something that you can do through Google Docs as well, just to make sure you get everybody's info all in one place, but also the complete information when you're linking back to people, how they want to be named, what they want their company name to be, any kind of graphics that you're going to use. A lot of people use pictures for those. So if you need people, helpareporterout.com, that's a great place to do it. If you've got a mailing list, Twitter, Facebook, any kind of social media can bring people in. And if you like the answer, put it in the post. If you don't, leave it out.
And this is a great thing for you and for the people in the Roundup post. It's great for you because when you tell these 25 or however many people you include in your Roundup post, hey, I just featured you on my website, your picture and your quote and a link back to your site, they have the opportunity to blast it out on their social media site. So if you get all of them doing that, you have, in my case, 25 people talking about this certain post and sending links back to your site. And you also give them some link juice from your own site, which makes their site rank better. So it's just kind of a win-win situation. And also, I've met some really cool people through doing that. Somebody that, David, you and I hung out with a lot when we went to New Media Expo, that I met her through my Roundup post. So it's just a really neat opportunity to create content easily and to connect with like-minded entrepreneurs.
Number 3, something very, very similar, is what I call a collection. And this could be the best of, it could be the worst of. Sometimes you'll see them in the form of a top 10 list. A collection post is very, very easy because it's basically just a big list.
One of the collection posts that I liked that I saw probably a couple months ago was quotes from Jay-Z that can apply to business owners. it was all these different quotes that Jay-Z had that was like, oh yeah, that's kind of motivational for business owners. So you can really put a unique spin on your content if you're doing a collection.
Yeah, absolutely. And this stuff is not only for blogging. This could be something that you could discuss over a podcast. We could do a Red podcast on Jay-Z's quotes if we wanted to.
We absolutely could. But I think best of, people like that. Just when you round up any information, people like to see that stuff because it takes information that's all across the internet and just puts it in one place where people can look at it and read it and deal with it right there. Instead of having to go do their own research, you do the research for them and put it in this collection post. So I think it adds a lot of value to your readers.
Very similar to that is number 4, what I call a summary post. And the difference with a summary as opposed to a collection or an expert roundup, these are usually very timely. A lot of times there'll be top news from the week. I get a weekly magazine, for example, an industry magazine called Billboard that gives me music industry news for the week, lets me know what's happening, just a summary. Sometimes it'll be hiring or firing. You'll see that in the business section of your local business journal, perhaps, sometimes trends as well. Most of the time, these summary posts, they are usually timely. Otherwise, I would call that a collection. It's not that timely summaries don't exist, but I want you to start thinking timely, and I want you to start thinking evergreen, a post that people would like 5-10 years down the road maybe.
It also could be trends, things that are trending. You can summarize stuff like that.
Number 5, I love this idea. If you're doing something such as going to seminars, if you are doing something such as reading books, we read books on here and talk about them all the time. Laurel, you're a big note taker.
Oh my gosh. With everything, I like to take notes.
Well, that's your content right there. You could take your notes from a book, summarize it, and basically post your notes as a blog post.
That's a great idea. And I know you, David, for Music Business Radio, don't you actually just scan in your show notes and post it as a photo on the blog?
Yeah, episode notes, and we could do that here for Red as well, because in the interview format of what Laurel is talking about, Music Business Radio, it's where I interview usually music business executives, but sometimes artists that you would know. It's at musicbusinessradio.com if you're interested in checking that out online. But because of the interview format, it's not very structured, and I'm writing down what they're saying all the time. And I posted these things one time. It's like a little flowchart, mind map, just kind of a big mess. And I didn't type it up neatly, and people were saying, oh, that's fascinating. That's interesting to see your thought process. So that's something you could do, and that's just a scan. You don't even have to type those up. Just scan it and post the graphic.
Could anyone read your chicken scratch, David?
Well, it's typed with chicken scratch over it, so there's guaranteed to be something that you would see in there.
It's more like artwork, I think.
Yeah,
Your
definitely.
handwriting. Well, how easy is that, though, last year we went to the START conference that John Acuff put on, and I took pages and pages of notes of what John was saying. He had Jeff Goins there. He had other experts there, and I took pages and pages of notes. How easy would that be to go through there? And I wouldn't scan all those because they wouldn't really make sense to the reader, but go through there, summarize some things, write, a couple bullet points about this is what this person said, this is what this person said, here's some quotes that I got. That would be fascinating for people. I think it would be fascinating for me, and it's so easy. You've already done it. You just have to type it up.
Quotes are really big. It's easy to do. You can outsource that to a Odesk or to an Elance type service. This stuff is really easy. And what if I were to take your quote, Laurel, put it on a graphic, pin it to Pinterest, send it to you? You're going to send that out to everybody, right?
Exactly.
So it's a great way to do something quick and easy. It's a great way to get the attention of the person that you're quoting, and it's a great way to get your message out through their audience.
Yeah, I see people doing that all the time. I don't know what kind of graphics software people use to do that because I use Photoshop for what I do, but just putting a quote on some picture background and posting it, that's content right there. That adds value to people. And people, I find, are more likely to share quotes that I put up than when I put up my original content. So just sharing somebody else's quote can get you a lot of attention.
if you're not good at Photoshop like Laurel is, I'm not good at it. And what I would suggest for anybody who's trying to get into outsourcing, the perfect project